In this tutorial, I'm gonna show you 10 efficient Microsoft Excel shortcuts you probably don't know. With those shortcuts, you can become faster in your daily work with Excel, but also become more efficient. You can save a lot of time with those shortcuts, so don't lose time, and let's have a look at those shortcuts. The first shortcut, which is pretty important in Excel, is CTRL-N. Maybe you already know this shortcut, but it's really important to use this shortcut because really often we are working with different workbooks in Excel. And of course, you can create a new workbook also by clicking on File and then New Workbook. But it's just way faster to press CTRL-N, and then you can see I already created a new workbook. And this is not only interesting in Microsoft Excel, you can also use it in different Office applications. So for instance, you can also use it in Microsoft Word. So as you can see, I just opened Word, and with CTRL-N, I can create now new documents. So let's talk about the next shortcut, which is Alt F4 or Control and W. So why to use this shortcut? Well, we just created a new workbook in Excel, and after creating a workbook, it's also important to know how we can close this workbook. Well, it is possible, of course, by clicking here on this right X, but you can also just press the shortcut Control and W. As you can see, I just closed this workbook. Important to know is also if you have changed something in your workbook, then Excel is asking you if you want to save again this file. And in my case, I want to save this file. And once I click on Save, we can see that Excel is closed. But it is not closed completely. As you can see, the application is still working here, but we do not have any workbook open. And to close Microsoft Excel completely, you can use the shortcut Alt and F4, and as you can see, Excel is now closed completely. So let's talk about the next shortcut in Excel, which is Control and F1. Why do you have to use this shortcut? Well, first of all, maybe we have to maximize here a window in Excel. You can click on this button here, but you can also press the Windows key and also the arrow up. And as you can see, now we have our window maximized. What we can see here in this window is also our menu bar on the top with the different ribbons, but sometimes it is not necessary to present them. So you can think about if you want to present something to your colleague in your company and you present your screen via Microsoft Teams or Skype, for instance, then the complete focus should be here in this working area and not on your ribbon. And to generate more place in your screen, then you can just press Control and F1, and as you can see now, your ribbon or menu bar is completely hidden. You can activate it again once you click on the ribbons, and you can also make a double click on it, and then it is there again. So it appears, but if you want to hide it completely, then you can press Control F1, and there's also a difference to Control Shift and F1, as you can see. Then also this upper part is hidden where you can, for instance, save your file or you can see the document name. So this can be also interesting to hide everything and only show your working area, especially interesting if you want to share your screen with your colleagues. So let's come to shortcut number 4. This shortcut is Control, Shift and L. Let's make an example why we need this shortcut. As you can see, I already have a database, and for me it is important now to filter my data to see what kind of attributes those columns have. So for instance, I want to see which specific products we have, which unique products, and this is possible with a filter. And with the filter, I can also say I only want to see the revenues with product B. And this is possible by clicking on Home and then sort and filter. And as you can see, we have here the filter function, or you can also go to data. There's also a click button for filtering our data. But way faster it is just to use Ctrl, Shift and L. Therefore, you have to select the complete row, as you can see. And once I press here Ctrl, Shift and L, you can see that we have now a filter. So let's hand over to our shortcut number 5, which is Ctrl and T. So with Ctrl and T, you can say that your initial data, so this data set, which we can see here, should be an intelligent table. So, well, what is an intelligent table? An intelligent table is a dynamic table which has many advantages. So you can format this data set, which you can see here, as a table by clicking on Format as Table. And then we see that there's a new dialog where we can say that my table has headers, so the first row, and then we already formatted this initial data set as an intelligent table. And you can also see it here on your ribbon table design that currently it is an intelligent table. While this is not only possible by clicking on Format as Table, it is also possible by clicking on Ctrl T. And as I told you, this intelligent table has a lot of advantages. For instance, we can use different table styles, but we can also here insert a dynamic slicer. This is pretty interesting for categorical data, such as here the product. And then you can say that you want to filter the data dynamically only for product B or product C, and then it is filtered dynamically. What you can also do with such an intelligent table is to summarize the data with a pivot table. You can say you want to have it in a new worksheet, and then you can see we already created here a new pivot table for a multi-dimensional analysis. And then we can say revenue should be here in our values, and we want to analyze it here for our product. And then we already have here an analysis for our data. Another advantage of this intelligent table is also once we have here new rows in our table, such as this date, which I insert now, then we can see that the table is refreshed automatically, and also our data here, or our analysis in the pivot sheet, we can see that our new data is automatically refreshed. So let's have a look at shortcut number 6, which is Control and Space or Shift and Space. Because it's really important sometimes to select our data, only the columns or only the rows, and we can manage this pretty easy by using this shortcut. Well, of course, you can also click on the specific column where we have our letters, or you can also click on the specific rows with the numbers, but you can also just use the shortcut on your keyboard by clicking on Control Space. Well, currently we are in an intelligent table, so we have to do it again and again. And as you can see, now I can insert a new column by a right click and then insert, and then we have a new column here. The same is of course possible. I can also remove the filter now with a new row, so we can here press Shift and Space and then again, and we can say Control and plus, or also possible with right click and insert, and then we inserted already a new row. Let's come to shortcut number 7, which is Shift, Alt and equal. Sometimes it is interesting to calculate the sum of a row. For instance, we want to here calculate the sum of our employees. For this, we can say we want to use the formula function in Excel sum, and you can press here the tab key also that it is automatically fulfilled, but you can also press here Alt, Shift and equal, and as you can see, we directly jump into this formula function and the data is automatically selected. And this is also interesting if we are here in a cell exactly next to our data, then we can use this shortcut, and as you can see, data is selected. Or also if we are down here, then you can also automatically calculate the sum of it. And as you can see, there is automatically the subtotal even calculated. Let's come to shortcut number 8, which is Ctrl and G. Sometimes this is also interesting. So we can just press Ctrl and G. And as you can see, we can now click in this dialog on special. And then you can do something special. You can select only specific data. For instance, you can only select the visible data. You can only select the data with yellow backgrounds formatted. You can only select conditional formats, cells, or also blanks. For instance, I can say that I have now some blanks in my data. Then I can select everything, as you can see. Then press Ctrl and G, go to special, and I can say I only want to select my data with the blanks. And as you can see, only the blanks are selected. And then, for instance, I can highlight it in a new color, like in blue or also in black. And then we can see that data is selected. Let's come to shortcut number 9, which is Ctrl and Q. Because sometimes it is interesting to make a very quick analysis of our data, like drawing a chart, and then you can select data like this. You can press Ctrl Q, and as you can see, we can here implement a conditional formatting with data bars or also different color sets. We can also insert a new chart, and this is very, very fast. So if you compare it with selecting the data here and then going to insert and then choose the specific diagram, this is just faster by pressing Ctrl and Q and directly jump into the desired chart. And as you can see, I already have now a line chart. Last but not least, we will have a look at the last shortcut, which is Alt and Control. Not in combination, but using it isolated. So that means I can draw another chart. So now you already knew the shortcut Ctrl and Q. And then we can say I want to have here something like a clustered bar chart. And then I can press the Alt key. And with Alt, I can say I want to position this chart again in a different place. And as you can see, by pressing Alt, it is located at the grid lines. So I can say it should be exactly there. And I can also say this should be a bit bigger. I can press Alt and then you can see that it is positioned pretty well. And I can also do it like this or like this. And then we have the perfect size of our chart. Then another shortcut for charts is also just pressing Ctrl. So not in combination with something, only pressing Ctrl. And then we can click on the border of the chart, pressing Ctrl. And as you can see, we already created here another chart just by pressing Ctrl. And then we already have 3 charts. And this is possible with our Control key. As you can see, those shortcuts are very helpful, and I highly recommend you to use those 10 shortcuts in your daily work with Excel.